Hello students, welcome to this session. Today we are going to discuss the JEE Main Test 64 uploaded on NT Abhyas app, the physics part. The paper is easy, not that tough. Calculations are also not that rigorous. There are many questions which you can directly take. I have regarded 6 as easy, 3 as tough, 16 as medium. Again, a regular paper. I think a good student above average should get 60 plus and a very good student should get 85 plus. The 16th question is directly from a JEE advanced previous question. So you must have done this. I have regarded it tough, but if you are preparing, you should be able to do that. So let's see what is in the paper. So let's start. Question number 1. Particle goes in a circle with a uniform speed, that means a uniform circular motion. As it goes from B to a diametrically opposite point A, momentum changes by 2 j cap and the centripetal force changes by 8 I cap. I and j are unit vectors along x and y axis. The angular velocity of the particle is. So it goes from B to A, and this is 2 j cap. So clearly it suggests if I take like this x-axis and y-axis, this should be the point A. This is velocity at A, this is velocity at B. Magnitude will be same at both the points. So VA minus VB, what we have, if I do PA minus PB, it would be MV j cap minus MV minus j cap, that is 2 MV j cap, and it comes out as 2 j cap. So that means MV is equal to 1. This is the first thing that we got. Now FA minus FB, so at B the force would be like this, at A the force would be like this. So what we have now, force at A minus force at B. So here if I do force at A minus force at B, this 8 I cap should be wrong. It should be minus 8 I cap as I suppose. Let's see, at A it would be mv square by r minus I cap minus mv square by r, and it would be plus I cap. So it is minus 2 mv square by r I cap. So I feel it's wrong, but I'm just equating the values. So 2 mv square by r is equals to 8. So now what do you need? You need to find the angular velocity. So we know omega is equal to v by r. So from the above equation I can write it as mv square by r is 4 here. So what I can write it as mv into v by r equals to 4. mv is 1, so v by r is 4 radian per second. So go for option B, though I feel that should be minus 8 I cap. Consider the circuit given in the figure. Which of the following statements are correct? Okay, just look at the figure. There's one battery and there are many resistors connected like that. Okay, so it is given. So current through the battery is 5 ampere, current through AD is 2 ampere, current through BC is 3 ampere. So what we have to do, just let me redraw it again. This is A and B, and what I have, first of all A and C, I have this as 2 ohms, then C and B I have as 4 ohms. Let's say this is B, and then I have A and D as 4 ohms, and I have B and D as 8 ohms, and I have C and D as 4 ohms. So and this is A and B. So now this is easy one for you. It's a balanced Wheatstone bridge, so this will be of no use. So what we have, the net resistance is 2 plus 4 above 6, 4 plus 8 12, so that is 6, that is 12 in parallel. So 12 and 6 in parallel, 12 into 6 upon 12 plus 6, that is 4 ohm. This is 20 volts, so I from battery would be 20 by 4 equals to 5 ampere. So current through the battery is 5 ampere, and if you see the branches, in the AD, the resistance is double, so current would be 1/3. 1/3 means it would be 5 by 3, and there it would be 10 by 3 amperes. So only A is correct. Next one. A copper disc of the radius 0.1 meter is rotated about its center with omega 20 revolution per second in a uniform field of 0.1 Tesla with the plane normal to the field. The EMF induced across the radius of the disc is. So we did this question yesterday also. Across the radius, just what you have to do, you have to take this as a rod about this and go by x and take that dx. The velocity of this would be omega x, so EMF dE in the small section would be b omega x dx, and if you integrate it from 0 to r, the EMF would be b omega r square by 2. So you know this thing. So B is what, 0.1 omega. Omega is 20 revolution per second, that is 20 into 2 pi radian per second into r square. r square is 10 to the power minus 2. I can write 0.1 square, that is 10 to the power minus 1 square, 10 to the power minus 2 by 2. So this 2 and 2 goes. So what we have, 10 to the power minus 3 into 20 pi. So this comes out as 20 pi millivolt. This is given as an option, so I'll go for option C. So again, not that tough one, you have done such questions. Next, you have a parallel plate capacitor, a spherical and a cylindrical one. Okay, E is charged by and then removed from the same battery. The separation between and removed from the battery, so battery is removed, so charge will remain the same. The separation between the plates of the parallel plate capacitor is reduced. So because charge is same, E remains same, but the separation is reduced, so potential difference will decrease. The radius of the outer spherical shell of the spherical shell is increased. So again, what we'll have, Q is going to remain the same here. The radius of the outer cylinder of the cylindrical capacitor is increased. So here also, let me see the option first. In each of the situation, charge on the given capacitor remains the same and potential difference remains same. This is wrong. In each of these situation, charge remains the same but potential difference in 1 and 3 decreases. In 1 decreases, yes. In the 2, the radius of the outer spherical shell. So for the sphere one, we know the formula is 4 pi epsilon naught AB upon B minus A. So what we can write it as 4 pi epsilon naught. If I write it as like divided by B from both the side. So outer shell is increased. Outer shell is increased. So this term will whatever B increases, so this term decreases. So overall, this term increases, so capacitance decreases. So capacitance is decreasing, charge is same, so potential will increase, so it will be false. In each of the situation, charge remains the same, but potential difference in situation 1 decreases and 2 and 3 increases. So, and the fourth one, so it increases in all is wrong. So only option C I can go for. You can check for the cylindrical one also from the theory. I am not checking because I can make out the option. Next, displacement x versus t square graph is shown for a particle. The acceleration of the particle is, from the equation it's clearly written x versus t square. So I can, if I write it, I can write this x as, from this particular case, I can write x as 2t square from the graph. So equating it, it must be from rest, so it is half a t square. Comparing it, so half a is 2, so a comes out as 4 meter per second square. So no doubt in it, you can directly go for it, 4 meter per second square. Next one, question number 6. The binding energy of a satellite of mass m in an orbit of radius r, as you know, that is total energy is minus gmm by 2r. So it is, binding energy would be plus gmm by 2r. So now you have to convert it. So if you will convert it, do gm by r square into m by 2r into r square. This term is g at surface. So gm r square by 2r, that should be the answer, mgr square by 2r. So go for option B. Next one. In a motor, the electrical input power of 500 watt and mechanical power output is 0.54 horsepower. The heat developed in the motor in 1 hour is. So first of all, 500 watt it is receiving and the work it is doing is 0.54 into 746. 0.54, sorry, not 56. So if I do this, what I will get, so 0.54 into 746, so 54 6s, that is 270 plus 54, that would be 324. 54 4s are 216, 216 and 32 will get 248. 54 7s, we will get 270 plus 108, that is 378 plus 24, that is I suppose 402. So 402.84 watt it is utilizing. So almost 97.16 watt it is wasting in heat. So in 1 hour it would be 97.16 joule per second into 1 hour is 3600 second, and answer is in calorie. So 1 calorie is approximately 4.2 joules. So if I do this, and this comes out as I can do this 971.6 upon 42 into 3600 calories. So make it out what you will get now. This would be, if I do 42, this is 971, this is 2, this is 84, and what we are left with, 131. So it is approximately 3. So 23 into 36. So 23 into 36, what we will have, 23 6s, or what we can add, 23 6s 115 and 138. 23 3s are 69 and 13, that is 82. 82800. This is what we are getting from the approximate. So closest one would be 8.6 into 10 to the power 4 calorie, because I have done lots of approximation, which I do. You should do in a way that you are comfortable with. I am comfortable in those. I trust my calculations, my approximations. If you don't, you will have to give more time. N moles of an ideal diatomic gas is in a cylinder at temperature T. Suppose on supplying heat at temperatures remain same, but N moles get dissociated into atoms. So first you have N moles of diatomic gas. Now small n has dissociated, so it will get 2N moles, plus you have N minus N moles of the diatomic gas. So this is dia, this is mono. This was complete dia. Now what is the heat supplied? Because the temperature remains constant. Temperature remains constant and enclosed, because it is a constant volume process, work done will be 0. So Q is delta U. So what I can write as delta U, the final one would be, the final energy I can write is 2N moles into CV, that is 3R by 2 into T, plus N minus N into 5R by 2 into T diatomic 1. So what do you get? 3nRT plus N minus N 5 by 2 RT. And what is initial one? Initial one is 5 by 2 into 5 by 2 into nRT. So what is the change? Change would be U final minus U initial. What I will have, 5 by 2 nRT I get cancelled. So 3 nRT minus 5 by 2 nRT, that is nRT by 2. Go for option B. So this is a question you must have done before also. So this is the question number 8. Next, you have a metal ring of mass 2 kg and radius 1 meter with a uniform metallic spoke of mass 2 kg and length 1 meter rotated about axis with angular velocity in a perpendicular field of magnitude this. If the central end of the spoke is connected to the rim of the wheel through a resistor R of magnitude pi, the resistor doesn't rotate. Its one end is always at the center and the other is always in contact with the ring. A force F is shown is needed to maintain the constant angular velocity of the spoke. Then F is equal to, here let this be potential point O and the complete rim be potential point A. So as we did in the question above, this way there will be EMF induced in the rod, and that EMF induced we have calculated right now, B omega R square by 2. So what is this B omega? That is 10. Omega is 1 revolution, that is 2 pi. R square is 1 square by 2. So what we have, this is 10 pi, that is the EMF. Now across these 2 points we have a resistor connected. So we have a resistor connected, so current flowing would be E by resistance, whatever we write as, let's say write it as small r now, because capital R we have used for that. So 10 pi by pi. So I is what we have, 10 ampere. So current is 10 ampere. Now what is the force now? So because of this current being flowing in this, because this is also, the current will be flowing through this also. So if the current is flowing through this also, what we have, we will have a force expression which we known as BIL, that you know, because current is perpendicular. So B is what, 10, I is 10, and what is L? L is 1. So now the force is coming out to, now this would be 100 newtons. So this 100 Newton is basically the force by the, what we can say, the magnetic field, and uniformly it is acting, so we can assume it to be acting at the midpoint of the rod. And the force would be, because what we have, we will have that this current going like that, current going like that, so we will having that I L cross B. If I do that L cross B, that force is going to be getting upwards, because you know the current is going like this here, so I L cross B, it would be like this, FB. So to maintain the constant angular velocity here, this is important, the torque must be 0, so this FB into R by 2 should be countered by F into R needed. So external force needed would be FB by 2, that is 50 Newton. Now this is a tough one for you, it's a very good question I suppose, so see to it. Next, the coordinates of a moving particle at any time t are this and this, the speed of the particle. This is a very general question. The Vx would be differentiated as dx by dt. Vx component of the velocity is 3 alpha t square. Similarly Vy you can directly write as 3 beta t square. So V would be 3t square, taking as common it would be alpha square plus beta square. So going for by this is 3t square alpha square plus beta square under root, going for option D, easy one for you. Next, person holding a bag starts sliding freely from point A on a frictionless inclined plane while his bag starts falling down vertically. The final speed of the man in the bag on reaching the ground after falling through the same height, because it is frictionless, loss in potential energy will be, the height will be same, so for both v would be equal to root 2 gh. You can directly go for this because no energy dissipation happens. So you directly go like this, or you come on a frictionless incline. On the both the cases, here also the speed is root 2 gh, here also the speed is going to be root 2 gh. So no issue in it because nowhere else energy is dissipated. Next, a nucleus of mass 20 U emits a gamma photon. Okay, if the emission occurs, assumed to occur when nucleus is free and rest, then nucleus will have kinetic energy. So because we will have momentum same, so the momentum of the gamma would be equal to the momentum of the daughter nucleus or the nucleus. So what we have, because it is a photon, so its momentum is E by C, so 6 MeV upon C, that is equal to the momentum of that nucleus, and that would be equal to root 2 mk. So kinetic energy would be, first of all, converted 6 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 13 in SI units. Okay, it is in EV it is wanting, so let me have it in EV only. Why should I convert it? So what I will have, 6 mega electronic volt upon C whole square into 1 upon 2m. That is what we have to find out this. Okay, so what we will get now, so this is 36 mega electronic volt square. C is 3 into 10 to the power 8 whole square meter square per second square into 1 by 2m. And what is m? M is 20u, so 20 into u is u, written lighted u only. So first let me convert it because I'm not comfortable. I think I might do some mistake. So it is 10 to the power minus 26, convert into SI unit. This is 9 and 10 to the power 16. This is 40 into u is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 27. So this goes. So what we have, 16 and 27 and 16, what we can have is 11, and 26 11, that is 10 to the power minus 15 into what we have now 1.6, this is 4, this is 10, so 1.6 upon 10, so basically 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 16 joules. So converted into EV, you can directly write 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 16 joule, and 1 EV is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. So it's come out as it is coming out as 10 to the power 3 EV, that is 1 kilo electronic volt. You can make it out. So just a calculative one, but you can do. Okay, next, a bigger question. System shown in the adjacent figure is in equilibrium. The mass of the container with liquid is m. Okay, the density of the liquid in the container is rho, volume of the block is v. If the container is now displaced downwards through a distance x0 and released such that the block remains well inside the liquid during subsequent motion, okay, the time period of SHM of the container will be. Now for this question, I'll say consider system only as this container and liquid without considering block, and just assume, leave that x0, assume it was initially in equilibrium and it is further pushed down by distance x. So now I'm going to write only the changes that are going to take place in the forces, because initially all the forces were balanced. Because of this extra pushing, the spring will exert more force, which is equal to kx for sure. Okay, now let us assume if it was doing acceleration. I don't know if it is doing or not. So if it is pushed down from the mean position, the acceleration must be upwards. So because the container is accelerating upwards, we know the bind force on the container in accelerating on the block in the accelerating fluid becomes rho fv vector g minus vector a. So the change in the bind force on the block would be rho f, what we have, rho f va. That is what we will have, and it is along the direction of a, that is upwards. So this extra force acts on the block upwards, so therefore the reaction of this force would be downwards, and it would be rho f va downwards on this container. So these are the two extra forces that have come. So if I write them, because I have pushed it down by x, so I will write f as minus kx because it is opposite, plus rho f va, and f is ma. So if I do this, what I'll have, because its acceleration must be the same, so it is what will we have, m plus rho f v into a would be equal to minus kx. That is what we can write. So what we'll have, a would be equals to minus k upon m plus rho of fluid into v into a x. So it becomes SHM for sure. So it is SHM a equal to minus omega square x. Omega is root of k upon m plus rho f v. So time period is 2 pi m plus rho f v by k. So I'm getting the option B. And the amplitude, if you pushed it by x naught, amplitude would be x naught. It could not be x naught by 2, and container is performing SHM, so go for option B. So just remember this equation. This is what we use for the accelerated fluid case. Next one. So light of intensity 16 milliwatt and energy of each photon 10 eV incident on a metal plate whose work function is 5 and area is this. Find the Kmax and the number of photoelectrons emitted per second if photon efficiency is 10%. First of all, energy of a photon is 10, work function is 5, so Kmax is 5 for sure. So you are left with two options, which is A and C. Now you have to check for the number of photoelectrons emitted. First of all, what is the number of photons arriving per second? Number of photons arriving per second, that you directly write as P upon energy of single photon. So power is 16 into 10 to the power minus 3, and energy of a single photon would be 10 eV is given, that is 10 into 10, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So what it is 10, 10, 10 goes, it is 10 to the power 16. So if 10 to the power 16 photons per second are arriving and photon efficiency is 10%, so photon efficiency is given as, you are simply given the photon efficiency is 10%. So number of photons arriving per second, power, okay, so I have done a mistake. Power is intensity into area. This is intensity, so I need to multiply by area also. That's why options were missing. So into 10 to the power minus 4, that is 10 to the power 12. So 10 to the power 12 photons are arriving per second, and 10% is the efficiency. So 10% of this is 10 to the power 11. So go for option A. Okay, so this was intensity. So power is intensity into area. You need to remember that. Now, when a large bubble rises from the bottom of a lake to surface, its radius doubles. If atmospheric pressure is equal to that of the column of the water height h, then the depth of the lake is. So similar question came in the NEET one I solved at the night, this same 64 test. So what you will have, as it rises up, we assume the process to be isothermal. So at the depth, P naught plus rho g, that the height of the lake, let's say small h, into the volume, that was 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now as it goes comes up, pressure is P naught and the volume, the radius is doubled, so it becomes 4 by 3 pi 2r whole cube. So what we can have, P naught plus rho g h, if you do, that is 2 cube, that is 8 P naught. So what we have, rho g h is equal to 7 P naught, and the P naught is given as equal to height capital H. So rho g h is 7 times rho g capital H, so this is 7 times h. You can make out the depth of the lake is 7 capital H. Next, a beam of diameter d is incident on a glass hemisphere as shown. If the radius of curvature of the hemisphere is very large in comparison to t, then the diameter of the beam at the base of the hemisphere. This is a question of IIT previous years. I remember the answer is 2d by 3. So, but let me solve it. First of all, for this surface between air and glass, the refraction equation I will write. So what I will write, n2 by v, that is 3 by 2 by v minus 1 by, this is infinity. That would be 3 by 2 minus 1, because this is the incident direction, radius will be positive, it would be r. So 3 by 2v is equal to 1 by 2r. So v here comes out as 3r. So 3r means it would be, this is r, this would be here something 3r. So now this beam converges to this point now, like this, like this, like this, like this. Now using the similar triangle analogy, this is the width d dash here, this distance is 2r, and this whole distance is 3r. So using this similar triangle analogy, what I will have by the same angle subtended or whatever, d dash by 2r would be equal to d by 3r. So I can directly write d dash would be equals to 2d by 3, and this is option D. This is a very very good question, but a previous question you must have done the practice in your institute sheet. If the height of the TV tower is increased by 21%, then the transmission range is, what we have, that range is basically root 2 RH, so that is proportional to root of height. So what we can have, R initial upon R final would be H initial was H, final would be 1.21 H. So it is 100 by 121, that is 10 by 11 you can write. So final R is 11 by 10, or you can say 110 by 100 times initial range. So it increases by 10%. So by increasing height 21%, the range is increased by 10%. Next one. A steel rod is 4000 centimeter in diameter. Oh, sorry, 4 centimeter, not 4000. I was wondering why it is 4000. At 30 degree, brass ring has an interior diameter this at 30. In order that the ring just slides, the common temperature of the two will be. So definitely its alpha should be more, and it is more. So what we will have, final diameter is same. So 4.00 into 1 plus alpha steel into delta T must be equals to 3.992 into 1 plus alpha brass delta T. So if I do this, this is 0.00008, what you can write, that would be equals to 3.992 alpha brass minus 4.000 alpha steel into delta T. That is what you need to remember. So delta T would be, I can write it as 8 into 10 to the power minus 3, and this is 3.992 into alpha of brass is 19 into 10 to the power minus 6 minus 4.000 into alpha, this is 11 into 10 to the power minus 6. So what we have, take this 10 to the power 6 above it is 8 into 10 to the power 3. Now what you have, 19 2s are 38, 19 9s are, you had 171 plus 3 174, then again 171 plus 17, that is 188, 19 3s are 57, 57 and 18, what you write it as 75. So it is 75.848 and 11 4s are 44. So it is 8000 divided by what you will have, this is 848 and 5 and 4 is 1, 7 and 4 is 331.858. So what we'll have, roughly, if you take it as 32 only, just do the approximation, options are very far away. By 32, 2s are 64, you are left with what, 16, 160 is 5, so it is 250 degree, that is the rise. So initial is 30, so final temperature would be 250 plus 30, that is 280 degrees Celsius that you can go for. So again a calculation test of yours. Next one. If C, R, L and I denote capacity, resistance, inductance, current, the quantities that have the same direction, you know, RC is time constant and L by R is also time constant, so these two are definitely the same. And root LC, this is also the same, this is also for time constant. Li square is energy, so it is 1, 2 and 3 I can go for. So it is 1, 2 and 3 that we can write for. Okay, so you just remember, this is LC oscillation, this is LR circuit, this is RC circuit. You use those time constant in all the three, so you remember that. Next one. Polarizer, analyzer setup is adjusted such that the intensity coming out of analyzer is just 36% of the original one. Assuming set doesn't absorb any light, the angle by which the analyzer needs to be rotated further to reduce the output to 0. Okay, so 36% of the original one. Okay, so here it should be assuming that it's tough to comment what it wants to say, because polarizer, analyzer set coming out of the just original intensity. What is that original intensity? I doubt. So if I take only for analyzer, analyzer doing 0.36 of the I, and that would be equal to I cos square theta. So cos square theta comes out to be 0.36, what we can say 0.36. So cos theta comes out as 0.6. So theta in that case comes out to be what we can say 53 degrees. Now to make it 0, you need to have angle 90 degrees, so further 37 degrees required. So that is how you can do. But again, if you take the original to be unpolarized and start with I2, I by 2 and do this will become 2 times, and again then the question will be not that easy to solve. So I'm doing it like that, though I'm not satisfied with the way, but let it be. Now after 20, let's go for 21st. What is the ratio between the total acceleration of the electron in singly ionized helium atom and a hydrogen atom when they are in ground state? You know acceleration is v square by r. So the ratio would be, this a1 by a2 would be v1 square by v2 square into r2 by r1. Okay. So v1 by v2, what you know, v is proportional to what we had, z by n. So it will be z1 square by z2 square, n is same. And r2 by r1, r is proportional to n square by z, so that will become inverse to z, so that will again become z1 by z2. So it is z1 cube by z2. So now a1 by a2, what do you require? Helium. So helium plus 2 hydrogen, that would be this is cube, sorry, so that is 2 by 1 whole cube, that is going to be 8:1. So here your answer would be 8. Yes, it is 8. Next, go for the next one. A wooden block of 10 gram is dropped from the top of a tower 100 meter high. Simultaneously, a bullet of mass 10 gram is fired from the foot of the tower vertically upwards with this velocity. Okay, if the bullet is embedded in it, how high will it rise above the tower before it starts falling? Okay, so first of all, where they are going to meet. So for the relative motion, we have a relative is 0, and the y relative distance they have to cover is 100 meter, and the initial relative velocity is, that is again 100 meter per second. So you can make out they will collide at 1 second. So they will meet each other at t equals to 1 second for sure. And at t equal to 1 second, we know the first one will drop by half gt square in ground frame. That is what you can write it as. That would be t equal to 1 second, 5 meters. So 95 meters above or 5 meters down. Here they are going to collide. Now the collision, what is perfectly inelastic. So first we'll have the velocity of this block, let's say that is equal to v1, and its velocity just before it be, let's say, v2. So v1 is going to be gt, that is going to be 10 meter per second, and v2 is going to be u minus gt upwards, that would be 100 minus 10, that is going to be 90 meter per second upwards. So finally both will go up with, let's say, velocity v. Applying momentum conservation, what I can write, what we have, bullet mass is 10 grams, so 10 into 10 ki power minus 3 into 90, taking upward is positive, and this would be minus. Now this block is also 10 grams, so 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 into 10, that would be equal to total mass 20 into 10 to the power minus 3 into v. So this goes, this 0 0 0 goes, so 90 minus 10, 80 by 2, that is 40 meter per second. So velocity is 40 meter per second. So now the height it attains above it, h dash, would be v square by 2g, because acceleration is g downwards. That is 40 into 40 by 20, that comes out to be 80 meters. So 80 meters above, 95 already above, so 95 plus 80. So if I write it, how high will it rise? Above the tower. So above the tower, so what we have, this is 80, this 5 is discounted, so above the tower the height will be 75 meters. So question is asked very smartly, just remember what you need to answer, height above the tower. So good one. Next, we have a stone of mass 1 kg tied to a light string of length s whirling in a circular path radius L in the vertical plane. Okay, ratio of the max to min tension is 4. What is the speed at the highest point? So what do you know? Max is at the lowest point, that is T max. Let's say call it speed u. This is mg. So what we have, T max minus mg is mu square by r. And when it goes up, we know the velocity would be under root of u square minus 2g into h. H is 2r. And here tension would be down and mg is also down. So it is T min. So what you have, T min plus mg is equal to mv square. V square is u square minus 4gr upon r. So the ratio T max to T min is 4. So if I write T max to T min, just see. T max would be m g plus u square by r. Okay. And T min is m u square minus 4gr upon r. And this would be minus mg. And this ratio is 4. So what I get? mg plus mu square by r. Okay, let me u square. So m u square by r is equal to 4 mu square by r minus what I will get, 16 and 1, that is 17 mg. That is what I am getting. Not 17, sorry. It would be 4 4s are 16, 16 and 4 20. This is a mistake I have done because I have taken it to be 1. It would be 4 also, that is 20. So what we have now, 21 mg is equal to 3 mu square by r. So 3m, and this would be 7, so u would be equal to root of 7gr. So the velocity at the highest point would be u square minus 4gr. So u square is 7gr minus 4gr, that is root of 3gr. 3 into 10 into r is 10 by 3, so it comes out as 10 meter per second. So again a slight calculative one, but if you do it properly you will get to the answer. Now the last two. A transverse wave propagating along the x-axis is represented by this. What is the speed of the wave? You know that is equal to omega by k. What is omega? Coefficient of t, which is 4 pi. What is k? Coefficient of x, which is 0.5 pi. So this is 8 meter per second. This is perhaps one of the easiest one you can get. The very easy question for you. Go for it. Last one. The potential energy of a particle under a conservative force is this. The equilibrium position be at x. The value of 10x will be. So for equilibrium, you know f is 0, f is minus du by dx, you all know. Differentiated minus 2x minus 3 equals 0, so x is equal to 3 by 2. So 10x would be 30 by 2, so that comes out as 15. So that was the paper for today. Thanks for watching. Please keep sharing this. Thank you once again.